I have played the Duelist Cup last weekend. If you were watching, of course, you know about this already. I finished not quite in top 100 because I also stopped a few hours before it ended, because to me, it was kind of like, I don't really care that much about making top 10 or top 100. I just want to do my best. And if it's good enough to win, then that's awesome. If not, then like I didn't feel like grinding for 4 more hours just to get like a top 100 or top 50 placement or whatever. So I ended up 119th with barely over 50,000 points. But I don't feel too bad about it, and we're gonna talk about how the event felt for me this time around, what my expectations were going in, how it turned out, what the format was like, what I would like to see on an upcoming Forbidden and Limited list, and then also some of the other things. But of course, first things first, a huge shout out to Ryan, Pack, and Stellar, who reached enormous point values in this one once again. I mean, Ryan, of course, has won multiple of these in the past. Amazing Master Duel player. But also Pack, you know, usually more of a TCG duelist, but literally 1 win behind Ryan on the leaderboard here. Literally 1 win for 1,000 points would have put Pack in first place, and he would have been able to qualify for Worlds. So incredibly close towards the end. But also Stellar, who I believe was actually first place for a long period of time over the last couple of hours, but then was overtaken by Pack and Ryan. Of course, amazing performance by all 3 of these. And of course, we're going to see Ryan back at Worlds next year, which was kind of a given, to be honest. At some point, he was going to qualify no matter what. If it wasn't through a Duelist Cup, then probably through the regional qualifier. So, yeah. As I had announced previously, I played 99% Draco Tail, I would say. There was a very short period of time during the second day that I tried to mess around with some Mitsurugi, like more pure Mitsurugi. But I didn't really feel like it was any better than Draco Tail, because I switched over to Mitsurugi when in a period where Draco Tail wasn't really working well for me. I wasn't losing many points, but I also wasn't really climbing. I think that was one of the problems during day 2, is like I started day 2 at like 20 something thousand, and then throughout the day I couldn't really get anything going. Day 2 was definitely the worst day for me. And then I tried some Mitsurugi, and Mitsurugi also couldn't really... I didn't really lose many points with Mitsurugi either, but I also didn't gain any. So, yeah. You should switch to a higher ceiling deck, not just the same ceiling. See, that's the thing, right? This is one of the things that we're going to talk about in retrospect of this Duelist Cup, in hindsight and so on and so forth. But I actually don't feel bad about this, because I did say literally on the Friday when the tournament started, and even beforehand, I did say if the way to qualify for Worlds in this Duelist Cup is to play a higher ceiling combo deck like Malice or Onomat Ryziel or whatever, if that's the way to qualify, then I'm not gonna qualify. That is what I said on Friday, and that kind of ended up being true. I mean, I think Pack played some Draco Tail, but Ryan played a lot of Onomat Ryziel and Malice, and also Mitsurugi Ryziel, which is also more of a combo deck than pure Ryziel. And like, I've told myself in the past, like one key factor for, or at least the way I see it, one key factor for me to be able to even compete in Duelist Cups for this amount of time in only 3 days, right? You have to play so much Master Duel. I can only do it if I play a deck that I like. I cannot bring myself to play, I don't know, Tenpai for 72 hours. I cannot bring myself to play Onomat Ryziel or Malice for 72 hours. I cannot do that. If that is the way to qualify for Worlds, I'm not qualifying for Worlds. And so that's why I don't feel bad for my deck choice. You know, I knew that there was a chance that Malice was the better deck, or that another deck was the better deck, but I'm not gonna play it. I cannot play it for this long. I hate the gameplay it provides. I hate playing against it even more. But like I just don't enjoy this type of gameplay for this long, and so I didn't want to do it. And so I don't feel bad at all, and I do think I'm happy to see that Pack was able to perform so well with Draco Tail, because I believe Pack posted on Twitter that he was using a couple of different decks, but mostly Draco Tail is what he said, which is really nice. And I was also really happy to see. Let me search for Pack's tweet real quick. Pack also posted his deck list, and I was very happy to see that it was basically the exact same Draco Tail deck list that I was using for almost the entire weekend, which we can talk about in a second as well. But Pack posted this. I played Malice and Ryzeal to get through the early rounds, then Draco Tail for 90% of the run. 5 rotating non-engine flex spots based on the Duelist Cup meta. Droll, Perulia, Meowls, Lancia, Nib, Reboot, Veiler. Most likely second overall. Try harder next time. And this is the deck list that he posted. This is the skeleton where like the last 5 cards are non-engine. He rotated around. This is 50 cards between main and extra deck, that exactly the same cards that I ended up playing as well towards the end. Like I was literally, this was my list that we're gonna take a look at in a second, but I played like some Bells or Nibs or Veilers or whatever as the last couple of slots, right? I ended up playing exactly this basically exclusively on day 3. In my list, in day 3, hold up, I can show you mine towards the end. In my list towards the end, the missing 5 cards, I played 1 Perulia because there was a disgusting amount of Ryzeal decks, and Perulia is also pretty good against Malice. I played 1 Perulia, 2 Veilers, and 2 Nibs. But the other cards are all exactly the same. I'm really happy that this is the deck that ended up. This is the best Draco Tail version that ended up doing well in the Duelist Cup. And I'm really happy about that because, you know, I might not be the best or most dedicated combo player out there, but I feel like I do know my theory behind like the mid-range stuff. And I did say the entire time, like, hey, if you're playing Spenta and Magister stuff in Draco Tail, it's a good deck. But I think realistically, I think you have the wrong idea of what you're trying to achieve with your deck. Like if you're trying to play a higher ceiling deck, you should be playing Automat, Ryzeal, or Malice. Like if you're trying to play a combo deck, play a combo deck. If you want to play Draco Tail, then you should, in my opinion, you should lean into the advantages of the deck. You should lean into what this deck does best, which is ignore Droll and Lockbird, don't suffer from Fuvalos or Maxi at all, and just play a grindy mid-range playstyle. That's what Draco Tail does. If you don't like that, if you think that sort of end board is too weak and you want to play something that auto wins when it goes first, then play Ryzeal or play Malice. But I don't think Draco Tail is the best combo deck. I don't think it's very smart to play Magistus Draco Tail or whatever, you know. I think Branded Draco Tail was valid because Branded Draco Tail is kind of the same deck as this one. The only difference is like, well, you cut 3 Cartesias, you play 2 Branded Fusion, you play 1 Albaz, and then you also have to play the Frixel, which in my opinion is just a bad trade-off. Because while Branded Fusion is an amazing card, Cartesia also is an amazing card, because what Cartesia offers you is it's also a starter unless you draw 0 Draco Tail monsters. But I mean, you play so many, you're probably gonna have one. So you don't have to play Albaz and Frixel, which are both not a starter, and not non-engine either. So they're pretty suboptimal to draw. So in this version of the deck, you have no bad draws basically, because all of the Cartesias, like there's no engine requirements to play Cartesia. Whereas in the branded version, you have engine requirements. And I think that's the reason why this is the best version of this deck in Master Duel, because in Master Duel there's 3 Fuva and 2 Maxis and a lot of Drolls in a lot of decks, and this deck is the deck that exploits that the best. And of course, I had games where I went first, I made my board, and I lost because my opponent's deck was able to push through it with like red reboot and a strong engine hand or whatever. Like, that happens. Yes, it does happen. It does not auto win going first, but that at the same time is kind of what makes it appealing to me as a player. This is the kind of playset that I like. I don't like I don't like making a board that my opponent looks at and then just presses the surrender button, which I understand that that's a good thing in terms of the competition, but it's not a good thing for my mental when I go through a 72-hour tournament and I never have to actually, like, it's kind of weird. I understand when you say like, oh well, it's a competition, you should be trying to try and achieve that, but this is something I've learned about myself in the past in Duelist Cups, is like, if I don't enjoy the deck that I'm playing, then I'm not going to be able to, like, I will crash out. I will crash out over the course of 72 hours if I just play a deck that is so dull that, like, you summon a monster, your opponent scoops, and your opponent goes first and you scoop, or you get max heat, then you scoop, and that's a dynamic that I simply, I simply cannot deal with. So I'm happy to see that Pack was able to perform with this deck, at least. But yeah, in terms of my own takeaway from this entire thing, I'm happy to report that despite its flaws that we're gonna get into in a second, this Duelist Cup was probably my favorite one in a long time. And I will say that the bar for that is basically on the floor, but it's still something, you know, it's still something. Because, I mean, previous Duelist Cups, I don't have to tell you, whenever I streamed it, you guys saw it, right? Like the 10-Pi Duelist Cup, the Snake Eye Duelist Cups, the full power Malice Duelist Cups, you know? The bar was pretty freaking low for this Duelist Cup to be better. But basically the thing that kept me alive, the thing that kept me sane throughout this Duelist Cup was just the Draco Tail mirror matches. The Draco Tail mirror matches were awesome. Like, the Draco Tail mirror match is for an enjoyer of grindy and a little bit slower Yu-Gi-Oh than what some of these combo decks are doing. The Draco Tail mirror was just, it was so good for my soul. You know, I just absolutely loved it. And so even though I was going up against Malice and Onomat Ryzeal way more than Draco Tail, I think overall, having those bits of Draco Tail mirror matches in between was just what made this overall better for me. And that's why I think my mental throughout the 3 days was overall better. I think the reason why I didn't perform as well is that my prep just wasn't as good as it needed to be. Because I think doing well in a Duelist Cup, and I am not going to blame bad luck on this one, because there were periods where I got very unlucky, but at the same time, I think it is pretty foolish to blame bad luck for Duelist Cup performances when people like Ryan are out here reaching 80,000 points, and not just one time, but consistently over the course of multiple Duelist Cups. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, I just got unlucky. I could have easily won this one if I didn't have that one bad streak on day 2 or whatever. Because, I mean, luck is a factor, but there's no way it can be responsible for a 30,000 point difference, and Ryan is able to do it every time, you know? So I think the reality is, if I reflect on my own performance, I think I'm pretty proud of my third day this time. I am pretty proud of how I played on day 3. But I do notice that, like, even though my play on day 1 and day 2 was solid, if I think back to some of those moments, I think there are definitely moments where I played cleaner towards the end of the tournament. And I think that is basically, if this tournament was to happen again, I think like right now, I think with the experience from this Duelist Cup, I think I could do even better. I think my play towards the end of the tournament was a lot cleaner, and I also think my deck list towards the end of the tournament was a lot cleaner, because in the beginning I was still kind of like messing around, you know, should I play Nib or should I not play Nib? Should I play Bell or should I play Veiler? Should I play 2 Cartesia? Should I play 3 Cartesia? Should I play 1 Pan? Should I play 2 Pan? Those are all things that were all kind of like questions in my head when I started playing the tournament on Friday. And then towards Sunday, I think I landed on a list that was basically exactly what it needed to be. But realistically, I should have had that on Friday already, probably. Like, I played, I don't know, maybe 400 games in this Duelist Cup. I have no idea how many, probably around 400. Maybe more than that even. But realistically speaking, I probably should have had that many games beforehand already as preparation, which I didn't. I didn't have, which, you know, it's just a matter of my November was pretty busy. And that, but then maybe I could have locked in harder in December to prepare more. But yeah, the red reboots were so rough. The red reboots were rough, but at the same time, I did figure out ways to beat red reboot a lot more consistently on Sunday, for example, because a lot of games. I don't know if you've noticed this, because I didn't. I mean, I talked on Sunday. I had the mic and face cam on, but one thing I did a lot more on Sunday was if I had the choice between. And this happened a lot. If I had the choice between setting all 3 traps, or I had the choice between 2 traps and a Mululu on the board, or 2 traps and a Femena in hand, I would always pick the one that had monster interruption, right? I would always prioritize getting to a Mululu on board, or a Femena in hand, or both, or a Pan in rotation, so that I can pop and survive the turn if they reboot, rather than getting all 3 traps. Of course, in an ideal world, you get all of that, right? You get 3 traps and Femena, usually, and seals if things go right. But so I did find adjustments to that, but realistically, those are all things that maybe I should have been aware of beforehand already. So yeah, I think the prep could have been better, and I could have played and I could have probably prepared better and then achieved higher points. Yeah, but I'm happy to report that my mental this time was probably at its best ever. You know, of course there was moments where I got frustrated, but I never crashed out and like played stupid decks or other stuff. Like I stuck to my plan, which was just play the deck I like, play Draco Tail or Mitsurugi, which I did for a very short period of time. But then I realized, hey, no, this Mitsurugi deck is not working as well as the Draco Tail deck. I just had some bad luck with Draco Tail. That doesn't mean I have to switch the deck. So I went back to Draco Tail, and I stuck with it. I kept making improvements to the list based on the meta I was seeing, and I just stuck with it, and I improved my play with Draco Tail throughout the 3 days. And you know, I started day 3 with literally 30,000 points because my day 2 was so bad, and then I went all the way up to 50 with Draco Tail, which was pretty cool. I think I'm pretty proud of my play on day 3. And so overall I think I learned a lot this Duelist Cup about myself, about how to maybe do better in future Duelist Cups. And I think that's all that mattered, or all that matters is being happy with the performance you did and taking something away for next time. And I think I did. I think I can safely say I do both of those things. I'm happy with how I played, and that's the thing, right? The realization that I could have or should have prepared better is not necessarily a negative thing for me, because there's a positive thought in all of that, because there's a promise in there. Like I can safely say, if I prepare better, I can do better, right? And that's a good takeaway. That's something you can take and improve next time. Where like realistically, I just have to put in a shit ton of work to win a Duelist Cup if I ever want to do it, you know? And that's something I definitely didn't do it this time. I didn't like sit there and play like 400 games of Draco Tail before this Duelist Cup, which maybe if I did that, maybe if I grinded ranked mode more, like for example, I did make Master 1, but I barely played in Master 1. Like I'm on 1500, you know? There's people every month that are climbing to the 1800s, or 1700 something at least, you know? Like the current cutoff for top 10 is 1780. There's people that play way more Master Duel at the moment than I do, you know, which is fair enough because I do a lot of other things as well. but it's something that I can take away and improve if I want to do well in another Duelist Cup, and maybe I will. Basically, that's what I'm getting to. Is overall, I enjoyed my Duelist Cup run, and if there's ever another format where there's a deck that I enjoy, I think I will just sit down, lock the fuck in, and practice a lot more before it starts, so that I have my deck list and my play already figured out, and then I think we can avoid some unnecessary losses. So yeah. All right, now to the things that were not so good with this Duelist Cup, maybe. Now, here are the decks that Ryan won with. Mitsurugi Raziel, sure, deck has a little bit too much ceiling for my liking. The other two decks, which are by far, and when I say by far, I mean by far, not even close, the two decks I played against the most in this Duelist Cup, Malice and Onomat Raziel, which are also two decks that Ryan used for his climb, in parts. You know, played some Malice, played some Onomat Raziel, played some Mitsurugi Raziel. These two decks, once again, this is my opinion, but I think a lot of people would agree with me, are miserable to play against. Malice is miserable to play against, and Onomat Raziel, honestly, Onomat Raziel might be more cringe than Malice. Onomat Raziel might be a more cringe strategy than Malice. That deck, literally, every single card in this deck is just like summon level 4, search level 4, make rank 4, specials more level 4s, whatever. And there's the amount of crazy shit that this deck can do is insane. Like I've gotten turn skipped by Onomat Raziel. Ryan's list doesn't have this, but a lot of the others did. Where is it? Does someone here have it? This one does. This one does not have it. This is rank 3 Stellar, also Onomat Raziel. This is rank 4 Global, also Onomat Raziel. This one plays Heavy Slump to deal with Maxi and other Charmies, which is insane behavior. I got Heavy Slumped as well. Here, rank 5 Malice. Rank 7 Malice. Rank 9 Malice. Rank 10 Dracotail, shoutouts, base individual. But yeah, that's the top 10. Malice, 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 Onomat, Onomat, one Dracotail, a second Dracotail by pack, and then we've got Ryan with Mitsu Raziel, Malice, and Onomat. Like it's literally, and that's I guess where I was disappointed, and also where I was wrong. I thought this was gonna be the Dracotail Duelist Cup, and I was wrong. I underestimated the power level that these decks are at in Master Duel severely. You know, I thought, you know, let's go and play some Dracotail now. Finally, that Red Ransom is banned and stuff like that. And I mean, I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't want it. I didn't want it to be true. I didn't want to believe it. Like I commented Challenger Cups before this, and it was always Malice that was doing well. You know, Malice was doing super well in tournaments left and right. And I was like, nah, it's fine. I can just play Dracotail. And I mean, Dracotail was fine, but it was not the best deck for this Duelist Cup. Those were obviously, looking at the results here, all the people, or most of the people that basically really wanted to win and perform as best as they can, they played Malice and Onomat Raziel. And both of those decks are just the most miserable combo slop imaginable. If their combos resolve going first, they just win. No exception. And Red Reboot being super popular also didn't quite help my enjoyment of this tournament, because I was trying to play Dracotail and I got Red Rebooted a shit ton. When in reality, like, I mean, Red Reboot does kind of work against Malice a little bit, but realistically, it was just there to beat Dracotail. Yeah, no, on the Onomat decks, literally, like, pick your poison. Some of them, I encountered people doing Protoss Lock. I encountered people doing a literal turn skip with some. It was some. You need like a Pendulum Exceed rank 4 that puts itself into the Pendulum scale. Like, yeah, it's Trident Ooze or whatever is what it's called. Then they make a Ptolemaeus with, I have no idea how many materials. It's like you make a you summon. Okay, hear me out. You summon 2 level 4s to make the ooze. The ooze goes into the pendulum scale. Then you summon 5 more level 4s to make a Ptolemaeus, the Teller Knight thingy. Then you activate plugin to attach another material to the Ptolemaeus, and then the ooze from the scale can attach itself, and then you have 7 materials, and that thing has an effect to detach 7 and skip the opponent's turn. Which, just the fact that that deck is able to do that is completely insane. Because they are not doing just that, right? They are not doing just that. You might think like, oh, that's a lot of level 4s they can summon. But at least they're not doing other things to protect their combo. No, they summon more level 4s than that. They do all that with protection from Ryziel Cross. They do all that. They can summon Infernal Flame Banshee beforehand. They summon Ryziel Duo Drive. They summon Ryziel Detonator, whatever. Then they clear their board by sending stuff with like with Node Ryziel or whatever, so they have room for more rank 4s. Like, that deck is insane. It summons like basically every single level 4 in this deck is summoned in that combo, except for Mulcharmy. But every other level 4 hits the board at some point. It summons the entire deck onto the field, basically, and also the entire extra deck. I've in my breaks, I watched Yugioh play some Automat Ryziel sometimes. Like, also after I stopped streaming, I didn't go to bed right away. I watched some of the people that were still streaming their runs. I saw Yugioh deck out people under Mulcharmies by summoning the entire extra deck on turn 1. That happened to me as well, but by Adignister and Cyber Slop, where I got decked out by Adignister once off of 1 card. They summoned 1 Adignister, I maxed, I died. Because they summoned Omni Negates before I drew my hand traps, and I got decked out. Straight up. 1 of the stupid yellow Adignisters, I got decked out. I sometimes had too many level 4s and not enough space. No, I know. That was something that I watched Yugioh play one game where the problem genuinely was he was trying to like deck out the opponent, but the problem was that he had too many monsters. So he had to like make room. He had to like overlay 2 rank 4s for Eclipse Twin, then get the Eclipse Twin into the graveyard, then shuffle it back into the deck with the graveyard effect of the reptile automat, this thing, and then make it again to like deck out the opponent. It's insane. This deck is insanity. Like, yeah. So essential, and then also hand trapping this deck with anything that isn't a Mulcharmy is impossible. Straight up impossible. Like, yes, if you imperm an Ice Ryziel and they don't have an extender, you might win, but like you cannot. Yeah, okay, Droll can also work, but Droll is horrible against Malice, so that was not a card I wanted to play in Draco Tail. But like, they activate Dodo Warrior in hand. There's no amount of hand traps that realistically saves you from it. Like, there's literally no amount of hand traps that saves you from it, because Dodo Warrior summons 2 level 4s, makes a rank 4 without normal summoning, and if it is detached from the rank 4 as material, it also searches an extender. You can Veiler the Dodo Warrior to make it a level 6, but then you instantly explode if they have a normal summon in their hand full of level 4s. You instantly explode. So this deck, basically anything that is a quote-unquote fair hand trap, anything, Veiler, Imperm, Ash, whatever, you are literally just checking, do you have 1 extender? And if they have 1 extender, there's no amount of hand traps you can draw. There's no amount of hand traps you can draw to stop this deck if it draws like a normal summon and extender or whatever. There's no way. And what's the alternative? Getting turn skipped. So if you or like, I mean, no matter, it doesn't matter what they go for, it's all auto win. It is all auto win. This deck, if this deck resolves the combo, you lose the game. They have so much disruption no matter what version they play. It is disgusting. It is genuinely disgusting. And I mean, it's all the same things but that Malice does, but like rank 4 instead of Link monsters. Literally. I think this deck's combo is even more cringe than the Malice combo. The only difference is that this deck's grind game is worse than the Malice grind game. And this deck's non-engine is also worse than the Malice non-engine. Like, if you stop this deck with a Charmy or whatever, they're not gonna Ash Impulse you on your turn. And they're also not gonna activate Allure Chessy Cat to draw 6 cards and have all the non-engine in their deck in hand. So in that sense, this deck is a little worse than Malice, but the combo is actually even more cringe than the Malice combo. Like, both of these decks, literally, like, it took so much mental energy for me when I played. There was periods where I played against, like, literally 5 Onomat Ryziels back-to-back in the Duelist Cup around the 40,000-ish point mark, 45,000 points. And, like, it took so much mental energy for me to not stop right there when that happened. The same is true for Malice. Like, there was a period where I didn't play against a Draco Tail deck like 10 or 15 games streak. It was all Malice and Onomat and other shit. And I was so close to stopping. I stayed through it, and I'm happy I did, but like they need to do something about these two decks. It's insane. It is insane what these decks do. And I genuinely, looking at my chat over the course of the weekend, and also like I cannot imagine that anyone enjoys playing against Onomat Ryziel. I cannot fathom a world where people genuinely enjoy playing against Onomat Ryziel. There's no shot that's a thing, right? That's not real.